that's it. If you have any questions or thoughts or ideas, please let me know. Other than that, that's it. So
JT, I have to say you kind of have the hardest job in the world in some ways.
oh, I don't know about that.
Because what I'm thinking is you never quite know, like you said, one day you're doing basic math and the next day you're doing calculus and you're trying, but one of the things that I enjoy about your, like, you know, unpredictable teaching and learning experiences is the fact that you're answering all these different life questions, like, you know, how you went from gemstones to what makes something actually, you know, shiny with respect to diamonds. And of course you're speaking my language when it comes to gemstones. I actually have a cool video for you about gemstones and the chemistry of them on PBS Nova.
Nice.
Yeah, it's called The Secrets and Treasures of Gemstones, if you're still curious. But I love the fact that you're including culture, you're including art, you're including questions that people have about everyday life. That you're just taking one concept with the music and you are just learning about every aspect of human experience with respect to that. And I can't imagine how much your students are just learning and just curious to learn more as a result of connecting in that way. I think
Well,
what you're doing is amazing.
the cool thing is with working with kids in kind of like alternative settings and with kind of this myriad of different abilities and achievement levels or whatever is you get a lot of, in alternative settings, you get a lot of freedom. So I worked at this detention center. I've also used this when I was working in kind of like a self-contained behavior support classroom. Some of the other teachers who I know that are using this are usually in kind of these self-contained special education classrooms for kids with behavior problems, or they're in juvenile justice settings or whatever the case may be. So you do get a lot of autonomy to kind of play around with strategies and stuff. And with that, you get to kind of play around with some other stuff. So most of these things kind of grew organically. Like the thing with the diamonds was like, I always heard my kids talking about they trying to shine, they want to bling, they want to do this. And I was like, do you know what any of that means? Like, what does that even mean? It's like, man, I'm gonna have my thing gonna be on blam. And I was like, what does that mean? And they don't
Yeah.
know. So
I have two more for you. One is She's Got Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes by Paul Simon.
yeah.
And
Oh, I like
Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend.
yes. Well, one of my students brought that in for his homework. And because I was like, you know, he brought it in. He was like, now I understand why diamonds are, which was great. And again, that grew into a conversation about blood diamonds.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Can you guys still hear me? Am I still good? Okay, I'm getting a yes from everybody. I'm not certain if JT, I can't hear him all of a sudden. But we're super thankful that you guys kicked us off on such a great note, for a lack of better terminology. Larry, you'll like that one. That was a pretty good pun. I'm going to open the field up to any questions. And Greg, if you wanted to chime in with anything at the moment, that would be great. If you can see, I'm trying to read the chat as I keep going here. So if you wanted to ask a question, just unmute your mic and go from there. JT, are you still there? Oh, JT somehow got disconnected, and we can wait for you. That's not a problem. But he says he's back in now. So if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat. I'd also like to invite, I know that some of my kids are actually watching this in my the fourth period class. If they have a question, they can also ask too. You can type it into the chat, or go from there. And I did get your picture, which I'm working on.
Oh, I think I'm back. Am I back?
Hey, there you are.
So I don't know if there were any questions in the chat. So and I think Lamar might be gone to class.
Yeah, I think he might have too. I know he actually, and it's too bad because my cat just hopped up on the computer, and he probably would have liked that.
Oh.
And so, yeah, I think what you're doing is amazing. And I think it's such an inspiration to have such a wide variety. You know, a lot of times you've worked in all different kinds of education. Sometimes I feel that I'm just going straight, you know, on a chemistry or math course. And I think it's awesome to incorporate those different aspects about learning about life and art and culture and all kinds of stuff. So we thank you.
My philosophy is that you want a well-rounded kid knows how the science of all things are connected to the rest of his life. Like, and that's been my argument for trying to advocate for science teaching for kids with disabilities, is that the understanding science is a quality of life issue, and it's a life perspective. So
we do have a question for you. It says, can you talk more about the transition from the song about diamonds into the more detailed instruction?
Sure.
So maybe how you get from point A to point B, like you said, organically, but what's your process with that?
Sure. So like I said, with that, this conversation started with the students talking about, you know, they were talking in this abstract way about diamonds and the properties of what they do. And then it was like, okay, well, there are obviously some songs that were out at the current time that, you know, shine bright like a diamond, and diamonds of Sierra Leone, and da 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 da. So, you know, pulling those lyrics in, it's like, okay, I remember it pretty vividly. Like, I'm telling the students, all right, how did diamonds shine? You talk about they bling, that means they're shining. How do they shine? I was like, I don't know, they just do. And then it becomes, okay, well, listen to what Nelly said. So Nelly says da 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 da, and they're singing along because, again, these are popular songs that they know the lyrics to. So they're singing along, and I was like, do you know what you're saying when you say these things? What's a carat? What does that even mean? I don't know. We just know diamonds have carats. Okay. Do you even know that they're not actually like edible carrots? Like, because they thought they were carrots, as in the carrots you eat. They didn't know that there was a different way or different thing. So it was really, you know, just letting the students lead me in that case. And as we start talking about these different gemstones and different diamonds and their properties of them, you know, the logical question is, all right, do you know where diamonds come from? And some of my students did. It was like, well, they come from rocks. Kinda. So kinda. Okay, that's good. We start there. And then, so where do most of these diamonds come from? And this is, again, one of my secondary goals was to get them to use computers and technology for more than just Facebook and Instagram. So now I have them practicing their search and research skills. So where do diamonds come from? And, you know, they're like, oh, they come from Africa. And, oh, this is what Kanye West was talking about when he said diamonds from Sierra Leone. Perfect. Let's bring in those lyrics. And when you go through those lyrics, he talks about conflict diamonds and blood diamonds. When they first heard that, most of my students thought they were red diamonds. And then they were like, are blood diamonds red diamonds, or are they just rubies? I was like, they're neither. So let's talk about that. And then we talk about that. And now it becomes a question about the economics of buying diamonds and where is Sierra Leone in the world? You know, what does that mean? Why are they coming from there? And you know, it's amazing how, you know, kind of opening it up for students, particularly, you know, these students who are considered, you know, they're academically behind and don't participate in school very much. Now they're part of this conversation about the broader, not just understanding what diamonds are, where they come from, how they're made, the properties of them, but what else does that mean in the grander scheme of the world, in the grander scheme of life? You know, one of my students was like, man, that's messed up. You know, now that he knew all this stuff, he was like, like this kid's dying to wear these diamonds. Like now I feel differently about them. And you know, once we start pulling video of what these kids look like, and you're like, that kid's no older than you, and they're working in a diamond mine. Like you're complaining that your McDonald's was cold. Like this is a whole thing. And it's just opening it up and being flexible, I think, is just being flexible and letting the kids lead you, but knowing where you want them to go.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much, JT. And if anybody has any questions, do you want to hang around in the chat and answer some stuff? And also, if you want to reiterate your Twitter, and maybe even some of my kids will check you out. They're actually online right now. So not during school, children.
Hey, man. Hip hop quote of the week. I am going to answer Luke, because I think Luke asked me, why did I become a teacher?
Okay.
I became a special ed teacher because in school, like, had my situation been different, I would have been a student receiving special services. I was a behavior problem in school, and I would readily admit that. Like, but because technically nowadays I would be called twice exceptional. I was a behavior problem, but I was really smart. So they now have a label for that. But you know, so I kind of get it. I understand those kids, and you know, so that's why I chose that route.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been great to talk to you.
No, it's been awesome. This is fantastic, yo.
Yeah, thank you so much, JT. We've got to move on. I think, yeah, we do. We have to set up for Tiffany. So Tiffany, you're going to go ahead and share your screen while I get ready to introduce you.
Okay.
But as she said, JT is available via Twitter and all the usual modes of social media, I suppose, or at least Twitter.